Hi and welcome. I'm Kate Forrester, the founder of The Happy and Creative Life. I help women reconnect to their inner beauty, find their joy, their passion, their purpose in life, and fall back in love with their life. I've started a series of videos on the subject of beauty, and it's my great pleasure today to welcome Jennifer Welford. She's the founder of Antelope, which is a very successful digital marketing company. And she's the person you go to when you need help with SEO, with content management, with social media, building your website, all these things. And she's very passionate about her job, which makes her very inspiring. But she's also very inspiring on a personal level, and I think you'll discover this today. Jen really makes you feel special. She's a very busy lady, but when she's with you, she's 100% with you. And I really love this quality of presence that she has. So welcome, Jen.
Oh, thank you so much. That is lovely.
So thank you very much, Jen, for being here today and for giving me this time and sharing your message. So I start off with a pretty brutal question, which is, what do you see, Jen, when you look at yourself in the mirror?
Okay, it's funny you should ask me this today, of all days, because I have recently changed the way that I try to look at myself. Often in a situation, or when I've been going throughout my career, I've been very aware that I'm a female and that I'm young, and I think people will treat me that way. And that's what I like to see when I look in the mirror. But at the same time, I don't know if that's who's really inside. So I've been trying to have a look at myself and bring out the person who I feel that I am in my head, rather than the person who I think that other people think that I am, and behaving accordingly. So I try to, the person that I want to see when I look in the mirror is someone who's driven and successful, and but who's also helpful and committed to making a change and making a difference in the world. That is who I'd like to see. Sometimes I don't see that person. Sometimes I see someone who's tired or hasn't done as well as they should have done, and it's easy to get caught up in that. But I think it's trying to remember. And today was one of the first days that I got into the flow of telling myself to be that person.
Do you talk to yourself in the mirror?
Not until today.
Okay.
Today was the first time. So I've been reading a book called The 5 a.m. Club. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. Yeah? So in fact, two people have told me about it in a very short space of time, and I thought, well, I must read this because I do get up at 5 anyway. And they're talking about instilling the world-class morning routine. So,
Robin Sharma.
Yeah, that's right. So it's this world-class morning routine, and I normally get up early and I have my things that I do, but I'm thinking, is that world-class? Probably not. So this morning I thought, what else can I add to that? And I found on YouTube something to help me visualize. It's a 6-minute exercise, and it's a kind of guided visualization of what you want to achieve in your day. So that's the first time that I started doing it, which is why this morning I told myself in the mirror, yes, you are that person that you just visualized during this exercise. So I found it really helpful.
Yeah, guided visualizations are really helpful.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what to expect from it, but there was a point in the book where one of the characters goes into himself, and someone says, what are you doing? And he says, I'm visualizing what I want to achieve from today. And I thought, I need to do that. So I thought, very next day I'm going to do it. So I did, and I just picked one, the first one that came along, and it was 6 minutes, and it worked. And I'm not surprised, because I kind of believe in messaging and things like that. But at the same time, I wasn't sure how it was going to impact me, and it did. It was really good.
Yeah, great. What's your relationship to beauty? Do you find yourself beautiful? Have you heard people say that you're beautiful? Do you like to hear it? Do you reject it? Do you find it important or not?
Okay, so many questions and so many levels. Yes, I like to hear it. Everybody likes to hear it. But where I struggle is that when people say it, I don't believe what they say. And feel often intimidated by people who are taller than me, slimmer than me, have longer hair than me, all of these things. And again, I recently read a book to help me try and get over that, because it's something that I shouldn't suffer with. And that helped, because it said, well, the people that you feel intimidated by, figure out what it is about them and how can you change in order to get yourself to that place. But when it comes to kind of the outer beauty and things, I think it's nice to visualise yourself in a certain way, and when I look at myself as an individual in the mirror, I see some things that I like. But often, not more often than not, but often, I stand in the mirror next to someone else, and that's when I truly compare the face value, not the inside but the outside, and start to think, oh, I'm not this. The example of it is when you sit in the hairdressers. You got the wet hair and the towel round up to here, and you're looking at yourself going, oh my God, do I look like that? That is the worst one. And that I had that the other day, and I was thinking, oh, I don't like my nose, I don't like this, I don't like that. And then when I see pictures, I went through a stage in my life where I wouldn't allow anyone to take a picture. Even this, it's not easy. But I went through a stage in my life where I wouldn't like anybody to take a picture because I wouldn't like what I seen. Still now, I'm like, please don't do that if I'm like in the middle of something and you're very aware. And I wish I could let go of that self-awareness, because when you look at social media, which I have to do a lot for a job, there's a lot of perfection. But when you're in the gym, for instance, I'm in the gym quite a lot, and I look around there and I'm like, there's so many different shapes and sizes. And I bet this girl over here, who I'm loving her hair, is probably thinking, oh, I wish I had her legs. Do you know, there's this. So there's knowing it, there's the theory, which is fine, then there's the putting it into practice, which is much harder. So there's a want and an understanding to love and accept myself, but at the same time there's the culture that we're part of, and it makes it difficult for me to accept myself. But I'm getting better at it as I get older. But I think during my 20s, life was all about what we could see and not what we couldn't see, whereas now in my 30s, what we couldn't see is far more important to me. But I still have that lingering, of all that upbringing and that kind of friendship group. That's still there somewhere inside, and it still makes the businesswoman in me revert back to being a 21-year-old who's nervous about everything about their body and their looks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. You mentioned that you were a mum earlier when we were having a conversation together. Do you have a daughter?
No. So stepmom.
Oh, stepmom.
Yeah, stepmom.
Okay.
So my partner has got 3 children, and one of them is a little girl.
So how do you talk to her about beauty? Is she interested in, does she have any like role models, and what would you like her to? How can you help her with this question? I mean, you've had a bit of a struggle with accepting the fact that you're beautiful and not comparing yourself with other women. Mm-hmm. Would you like to help her, and what message could you give her?
I'd love to help her. And so 2 weeks ago, it was my partner's birthday, and we had a surprise party, and a few of our friends come over and they brought their children. And there were Pixie, who's my partner's daughter, and then 2 other little girls who are, and they were all playing together. So they were quite quiet, and as you know, when children are quiet, you should be nervous. Yes. So I went upstairs to find out what was going on, and they were all sat in in Pixie's bedroom, which is all pink and full of like Little Mix calendar and that sort of stuff. Very stereotype driven, which is difficult, but I'll come to that. But they were all sat and they were in a line doing each other's hair. Well, I was like, oh, I want this. So I joined in. I ended up with bunches on one side and a plait on the other side, and it was great. So whereas that seems to be the norm of being a girl, and I understand as we progress, and as the kind of 2019, we're talking about gender fluidity, and we shouldn't have these gender stereotypes, but they are still apparent. But what I find with Pix is I'm not the only woman in her life. There's obviously, it's her mum as well. And we are two very different people. And I struggle sometimes because our values are different. And the values on one side are, there's a lot of value based on how you look. And I'm trying to teach Pixie that that's not necessarily the be-all and end-all. Yes, take pride in yourself, take pride in your appearance and ensure that you feel your best self when you go out, but you shouldn't feel that your value is based on your appearance, and that's what I'm trying to help her with at the moment, because I think that it's I was like that when I was younger, and because I had done a lot of dancing and a lot of gymnastics, and we were always dressed up and we had our costumes and very competitive nature from a young age. And I think that I don't want to see that in her. We have got her into a gymnastics club and to teach her health and fitness and wellness over what you look like. But there's two boys in this as well. So Pixie is the youngest, and there's two boys. And what I try to talk to them is how you speak to your sister will impact her, because it is very different for men and women. And they don't know that yet because they don't have that wider experience, but they will start to learn. And the middle one often doesn't choose his words very carefully, and some things can be hurtful. And it's, teaching her a resilience, because this is often the world, but teaching him a kindness, and that both of you should not be basing values on looks. One of you shouldn't be teasing people about their looks, and you shouldn't be upset when people do that, if it does happen to you. So there's a lot to teach, especially about outer beauty, and it's trying to bring that inner beauty out in them as well. They've both got great, strong individual characters, and I feel that they should be championed over. They're both beautiful children, so they've not got a struggle on their hands when it comes to what they look on the outside. But even at that, beautiful people are often the most insecure, because they're constantly told that they're beautiful. So should she, I feel that she needs that constant reassurance now. She's always been told how pretty she is, so when she doesn't get it for a while, does she feel that she's not? And it's feeling self-sure in yourself as well. And it's difficult to teach that to a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
It's very difficult,
Time. So, one can't help but notice the illustrations on your body. I don't want to ask any question that's too personal, but does that have a link to your confidence and the way you want to be perceived by other people?
Definitely. Although, and I think if you ask many people who have got a lot of tattoos, for me, it didn't feel like something I considered, I want to get these to fit in with the group who I identify with. It wasn't like that. But what happens as a product of them is other people start to identify you as a part of a certain group. But for me, it was more about expression. So all of my tattoos are animal-based, and a lot of them haven't been born out of I've seen a picture and I've gone to an artist and I've said, can you put this on to me? It's been a discussion with the artist, and it's like, I like this. How would you interpret that? And great relationships have been formed. So there's a lot of story in mine. However, my gran, she thinks that I've got tattoos because I am trying to hide something in myself or express something or link myself with someone. And I always thought that was nonsense. But I was thinking about this at the weekend. I had a bit of time to myself, and I was thinking about what I want next and so on. And I see where she's coming from. I do see where she's coming from, and I see a lot of people, I don't identify with it that I've had them to help with something that I'm dealing with. But that's not to say that at some point in my life I might look back at this time in my life and go, yeah, you did do that. I just hadn't realised it yet, potentially. But I do see a lot of people who hide behind an image, and that is a big thing. I watched a documentary recently about two girls who from America who suffered abuse when they were younger, And I was really inspired by the resilience that one of them had. And it, you know, she had a tough time, not just with what happened to her, but her life just seems to be a series of very unfortunate external forces hitting her constantly. But she's got a brother who, the brother was really supportive in her environment and what happened. So I looked up him and her on Instagram, and seen that now she's absolutely covered in tattoos. And I thought, this is what made me think about it, and what made me think this is why this is my grand's opinion of me. She's seen me go through life and all the trials and tribulations, not that they're anything like this girl's, of life, and potentially she sees that in me, that I seen that in this girl. Are you expressing yourself through this? Are you hiding something? Are you hiding something that you don't like? So I don't feel that I'm like that, but I understand why people do see that in people who have such visible tattoos. Genuinely, I think that they are beautiful. This girl in particular is, again, she's gorgeous. But I think that she, when she didn't have them, she was beautiful. But now that she does, to me, in my eyes, I think they are lovely. I love the look. I can look at people with tattoos for a long time. I like big pieces as much as I like normal art. So there's Brighton Tattoo Convention that's on every year, and Joe and I always go to it. And I don't go to find a new artist. I go because I genuinely love the pictures, the colours, the stories behind the and the people as well. I tend to find that in the tattoo world, you get people who have got a lot of creativity. There's a lot of angst in there, and it is associated with angsty rock and roll, where a lot of emotion comes out in a different way. It doesn't come out in a calm, serene way. When you go into a tattoo studio, there's often rock music on in the background, and there's a lot of skulls and things like that. So there's definitely a theme to the energy in that little sector, big sector. But at the same time, I don't think to have them you have to identify with that necessarily. There's a lot of expression, and that's what I like about it. Some of my tattoos I look at and I'm like, oh my God, I wish I didn't have that. But then other ones I look at, and my dad, he said this when he first seen them, he was like, he hated them because I didn't tell him that I had had my hands done. And we were at my uncle's funeral, and this is the first time he'd seen them, and he was sitting on one side and he was really upset, and I put my hand over it and he stopped crying and he went, and then he kind of focused back on the task at hand, and then afterwards he obviously brought it up. And then he said, do you know what? They suit you. And he was like, I'm not angry. And he was like, I feel like they are a piece of you. And then when I got my neck done, he said, I don't think you could have got a better tattoo for you there. And he said, and I don't think that, and he said, and I actually like the way you've had it done. You've not gone. So there's obviously the things that you come up against, you know, do your family like it, do the people around you like them, and what did they think that means? But at the same time, I feel like mine are an expression, but they're very permanent. I don't know if I'm going to be this person in 10 years' time, so yeah. I'm going to have to be reminded of the person that I was when I got them. So if I change, then fair enough, but I'm definitely committed to them.
I like the fact that you've got only animals, yeah. So there's got to be something related to the energy of the animal, the spiritual meaning also.
Absolutely. So I am very empathetic person, and I think that's been apparent ever since I was little. If I see someone suffering, it hurts, it genuinely hurts. And I feel the same way with animals. So I don't think I need to tell you I'm vegan. But that to me wasn't difficult, and it's a personal choice as well. It's not something that I'm going to ram down other people's throats. It's for me. But I just feel that there's an energy and a symbolism in a lot of different types of animals. So I've got a few spiders, I've got snakes, I've got elephants. There's a lot of wisdom in there and symbolism of female strength, which that means a lot to me. But not to say that I had that in mind. Those are just images that spoke to me. But before I had them put on my skin, I looked up what they meant, just in case I did not agree with the theme. And when I had the snake, it was about rebirth and wisdom, and I thought, that's nice, because I was going into a new relationship at that point, and I felt, this is probably a good thing to remind me of this time. I got an elephant here on my arm, and that reminds me of, it reminds me, it's a new beginning one as well, and it's the Hindu god of rebirth, and I thought that was nice because I had just moved to Brighton when I had that. And the spiders, I've got a lot of spiders, and that's the kind of the Black Widow, the strong female figure. So all of these things, they do feel like part of my character, but potentially I didn't do it on purpose. It just, because it felt natural. Images that I was drawn to, maybe there was an underlying energy there.
But it's also maybe just an alignment of your inner self, your subconscious self, and then coming up to the surface, literally, the surface of your skin.
Yeah, I think so. And it was nice that I was brought up in an environment where we could talk like that, and we could say, this feels like me and me coming up from the surface and so on. So, potentially on a subconscious level, I did do that, and I think there's got to be a thing. There's no way that I end up with images that I identify so strongly with on me for no reason at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a little game to play.
Go on.
It's a few quotes by famous people on the subject of beauty. So I'd like you to just pick and choose a couple. Read it out loud and tell me what it is.
Okay, I'll go from the middle. Will I do this one first and then?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. Oh, this is nice. Everything has beauty, but not everyone sees it. Confucius. Yeah. So in this book that I'm reading at the moment, at the beginning, and I can't remember exactly how it is, so I'll try my best. It says, the people who were seen dancing were thought to be crazy by those who could not hear the music. And this is something that resonates with me at the moment, because I'm on my own journey, and everybody learns things along the way. And part of my journey at the moment is helping my family understand why I choose to live the lifestyle that I do in terms of my diet and my beliefs. But it's a difficult one because there's so much beauty and peace in this lifestyle of mine. But another quote, not to talk in quotes all the time, but someone who's a friend of mine said, how can you get out of a jail that you don't know that you're trapped in? And since I've moved on and chosen not the lifestyle that you're automatically given when you're born in this country and culture, which is, you eat meat, and when you become an adult you start drinking, and all these things that seem to be the norm and accepted, when you say why, and then you, for instance, stop eating meat or stop drinking alcohol or do anything that's not the norm, you start to see this. I feel that to kind of illustrate it, sometimes I see it as I'm looking at something, and the more I move away from it, the more and more I'm like, wow, what was that? And I can see this, like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Some people look, wow. And I feel there is beauty in that. But again, there's so much beauty in anything. If we're talking about back on the surface of things, sometimes I look at things. One of our designer, Antelope, sent me something the other day, and I skimmed it, and it wasn't for me at first. But I didn't want to say that to him, because I'm not the type of person that would say, no, go and fix that because it should be this, and this. And I spent the weekend looking at it. He sent me at the end of his working week. And I spent the weekend looking at it. By the time I was finished staring at it, I am in love with it. It's so in love with it that it's not immediately me, but what he's done with the colours, and so it's a rough thing, and to poo-poo it because I didn't like it immediately was wrong. But to see it and see it, and then I'm like, yeah, I can visualise how this can be grown and that sort of thing. And I think it's in this book again. There's a homeless man at the. Have you read it?
No.
No. Okay. So the story is there's a homeless man at the beginning, and it's about how he's perceived, and then the transition and the development of his character. It's just a reminder not to just look at the surface and look further, look deeper. And I think that's probably not that I want to speak for Confucius, but that's probably what he's referring to is, what's the life in this?
Yes.
It might be a dead flower, but what flower, what lived, what bloomed, where did it bloom, what was it in its, when it was alive, that sort of thing. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that level of thinking. I also heard something recently about we live in a society that champions youth and beauty in youth, and where actually we should probably champion the beauty and the wisdom of our elders, because actually that's where there's something to be learned. There's nothing to not that there's nothing to learn from younger people, but they haven't lived their lives yet, so all they know is what they know in the there and then, and actually to just champion them because of how they look is wrong, because when we all inevitably pass that stage, we're living ideals that we can't get back to. So I like that, the beauty. Yeah, but it's just nice, and I think everybody at all stages of their life have got things that they can tell you, even if they're younger, they might have learned something that you've never learned. So yeah, there is certainly beauty in everything. No, actually, I'm not going to say that. There's some things that there's not beauty in, and there's some people that are yet to find a beauty in life, and they just have to be shown. Though it's not that they should be shunned. Shown over shunned. I prefer that. So maybe there's not beauty in everything. I don't know if I believe in that, but I do believe that you should scratch the surface before you decide if something's beautiful or not.
Yeah, the challenge is to find the beauty in everything, probably.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I'm just going to go straight from the top now. Okay. Ah, that's lovely. I've never heard this before. Outer beauty is a gift, inner beauty is an accomplishment. Randy G. Fine.
Yes, an author.
Yeah, Fine is an appropriate name for something like this.
Yes.
I love that. I really, really, truly love that. Especially coming from, this just speaks to me because of the upbringing and not upbringing, I'm not blaming my mum for this at all, because she's not face value type person. I mean, the people that I surrounded myself with when I was younger really believed in outer beauty. But the thing is, if you're born with it, you're born with it, and if you're not, you're not. And so yeah, it's a gift. You see some people who really do strike you and they are beautiful. But at the same time, the journey that I'm kind of going through at the moment is figuring out how to bring that out just in your face and in your actions and in your words. And that is something that you do have to work to achieve, and it's training and it's practice, and it's practicing that every single day. So yes, I agree with this. I love this, and keep this.
Yeah, absolutely. Do keep it if you want to. I mean, I'll give it to you in another form. Well, I want to thank you for this interview. It's been really lovely hearing you, and I just want to ask you one last question. You talk a lot about your values, and you're a very empathic person. I noticed right from the start that everything you do, I think, professionally and for as far as I know, on a personal level too, you do from the heart.
Yeah.
Is this something that you've developed, tried to really become conscious of at a certain point, or is it just the natural you?
I don't know. I think potentially it's a development. Potentially there's a development in there, but I think ever since a young age I believe in doing a good job, and I think when you start to be paid for doing when you start to be paid for work, I feel like if there's such a reward there, then actually the person who's giving me a reward should get reward as well. So I believe in doing everything with purpose, and that's maybe a personal value, but then when you start to be paid for things, it's like, well, you have to give that back as well. So I think this, the reward thing there, believing in doing a good job, and just make it, doing, my mum always used to say, treat others how you want to be treated yourself. So with marketing, I would be fairly annoyed if I had paid money to get a service and then that wasn't accomplished. Then, you know, I've worked hard to get that money to spend on you, and then you've sold me something and you haven't done it. So I think that I want to restore people's faith in a sector which sometimes can be unreliable. And I will only do it if I think that I can get the results out of it, and that's why our clients really, they smile. You know, they go, we got clients out of that, and that is the end. If that's the end goal for them, my actions have to be in line with that, and they have to. There's not just doing the job, there's the follow-up as well to ensure that the job equals the purpose. So yeah, I think it's a personal thing, because I wouldn't want to be treated that way. So I do it in a way that I think, what would I enjoy? What would I pay for?
Thank you very much, Jane.
You're more than welcome. Thank
You're a really
you.
beautiful person. You're authentic. You're not scared of being vulnerable, and you have this great heart.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can I just say one last thing?
Yes.
You said to me when you asked me to do this interview, you said you're genuine, you're authentic, you're vulnerable. I didn't really know what vulnerable meant as a person, but you know that thing, and I think someone said it at the most recent business amp, where when you go to buy a car, when you leave the showroom, you suddenly see these cars all around, and you had used the word vulnerable, and then I kept hearing it and other people saying this to me, and I was like, what does this mean? And I figured out what it meant, and thank you for bringing it to my attention, because I think, to me, now knowing that that's a key, and not a key, it's something that I possess. Actually, I think I could use it to my advantage, so thank you.
It's a strength, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a strength. It takes courage to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and just to the way that I understand it now is just to be, it's just because I just try to be myself, and sometimes that means if I'm sad, then I have to be sad, and I don't try to hide that from people, especially in work. You know, on Monday morning, Mark came in and he said to me, "How are you?" And I went, "Well, not good." And he said, "Why?" And I said, and I told him. But once I had the conversation, I felt better. And it was just I was feeling a bit overwhelmed because we had a lot on and he wasn't there yet, and I wanted to talk about it. And yeah, I was overwhelmed, but once I got it out there, I felt better. But equally, I could have gone, "I'm fine. This is what we're doing today," and I didn't. And then equally, sometimes he comes in, or Fraser comes in, and they say, "How are you feeling?" And I'll go, "Just really happy." And it's, you know, I knew it as wearing your heart on your sleeve, but vulnerable is a really nice word for it, and I understand it now, so thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that was lovely.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. À bientôt. Bisous.